Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Dalton Brown, here on behalf of SportsMapElite for today's edition of Touch 'em All. It is Tuesday, June 14th. We've got a full slate of games to go through today, including a doubleheader, which has game one already underway. That's between the Pirates and the Cardinals. But looking forward to diving through the whole slate today. It's going to be just me, so we'll be moving pretty fast here. Feel free to jump in the comments and get whatever you need to off your chest. Feel free to come at me however you feel the need to. But been an up and down last few days. Had a couple rough ones on Friday and Saturday, and bounced back the last 2 days with some pretty big winners. So looking forward to hopefully keeping that momentum going. We certainly put a lot of work into these picks, and we're certainly certainly looking positive so far on the season. So and if you're looking for really picks on anything between myself, BC, who's normally with me on this show, Joe Spano, Chris Dell. We've got a lot of really talented guys over at SportsMapElite, handicapping everything from hockey to basketball. Fred Fowler has been killing it with his hockey picks. So, go ahead and check it out. It's only $19.99 a month. Great value there. And, if you tail what we do, you should win money over time. Can't promise anything, but, if you've done it up to this point, you've probably done pretty darn well. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and dive into today's slate. I got a big slate of games. Starting out in Washington, D.C., that's going to be 9-5-3 Atlanta Braves at 9-5-4 Washington Nationals. Braves are sending Max Fried to the mound. Really solid year for him so far. He'll be taking on a kid named Tetro, who is making his debut for Washington. Atlanta, unsurprisingly, a massive favorite here, minus 240 on the road. Washington going to be plus 220 at home with the fellow making his major league debut. Over/under of 9 runs in this one. I think Atlanta is a rightful huge favorite here. This is a team that's won 12 in a row. They're playing great baseball. They're hitting the ball well. They're pitching well. Their bullpen's been lights out. So I totally get it. I am not going to be investing in them here. I consider the run line at minus 1.5. That's a little cheaper at minus 140, but I think there are better options out there on this card. You look at Max Fried. He faced Washington once this year, and he pitched okay. He allowed 2 runs in 5 1/3. That was back in April. He's actually struggled a bit at Nationals Park for his career. 6.23 ERA in a little over 17 innings pitched there. So, you never know, right? Sometimes a guy doesn't like a certain mound. They don't like pitching to a certain lineup. So, it's hard to know if that's useful information, but it kind of keeps me off of him, as does the fact that Washington's actually been hitting lefties really well. They have a 118 WRC plus, so that's 18% above average, dating back to May 20th. I think Fried could get hit a little bit here. I'm not necessarily anticipating it, but it wouldn't shock me. And certainly with the Braves laying as big of a money line as they are, I don't think it's quite worth the investment in them. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the right-hander Tetro making his debut. You look at what he's done in the minors, 4.19 ERA this year at Rochester and AAA. I don't really know what to expect from him at the MLB level. Atlanta's obviously red hot. One thing to say with the Braves, though, they have been hitting lefties better than righties. So, I don't know. If I'm going to invest in a team as this big of a favorite, it's got to be an absolutely perfect spot. And I'm just not sure I can get there. So, I think it's just a pure stay away. I think the Braves should win the ball game. If you're looking for a parlay piece, it might not be a terrible option, but just beware. Max Fried, ERA over 6 at Nats Park. I don't know. Moving down the line, we've got the Marlins and the Phillies as we stay in the National League East. Cashed a nice no runs in the first inning on this game yesterday. Not going back to that well today. Certainly not with the way Trevor Rogers has pitched this year for Miami. I'm actually going to be on the Phillies team total over 4.5. I'll walk through why here. Rogers faced Philadelphia once this year already. He did not complete the second inning. He allowed 7 runs in that start. He's had a couple good outings this year, but mostly this is a guy who is very far from that Rookie of the Year form of a couple years ago. He's been far below average consistently, and I think the market hasn't quite caught up to that yet when you look at the lines on their games. Right here, Philadelphia is a minus 150 favorite at home, Miami plus 130 on the road, over under 8.5. I think consensus would be that Philly's better than Miami, especially right now. I think consensus would be that Eflin is quite a bit better than Rodgers. So the line does feel light to me. I would lean Philly -1.5 on the run line at plus 135. If you take a quick look at Trevor Rogers' Baseball Savant page, the whole thing's blue, which is bad on Baseball Savant. He's been as bad as the basic stats make it look. And you look at the bullpens here: Philadelphia since June 1st, 3.78; Miami 6.27. I just don't see how run prevention happens for Miami. I think I think their over/under on runs should be 5.5 or 6. Zach Eflin, he pitched against Miami once in April. It didn't go particularly well. Allowed 4 earned in 4 innings. He has been mostly pretty good this year. The exceptions have been pretty glaring. He's had a couple outings where he's been just absolutely lit up. His June's been pretty good. 1 run allowed in 12 innings so far. He does have a 1.16 ERA at home. So, I don't hate the angle of Philly's run line -1.5. I still don't fully trust their bullpen late in games. So I think the safest pick here is going to be Philly's team total over. But I might end up tweeting out Phillies as a play. My big concern here, Eflin last year went 0-3 against Miami. He allowed 11 runs in just 15 2/3 innings. So I don't know. It's just I don't see the point in putting trust in him when I can just put trust in the Phillies offense. Moving on down the line, 957 Milwaukee Brewers, 958 New York Mets from Citi Field tonight. Adrian Hauser on the mound for Milwaukee. He'll be taking on Chris Bassett for the Mets. Over/under of 8 here. Mets a decent-sized favorite, -147 at home. Brewers catching +127 on the road. Chris Bassett for New York, his season has really come apart here. His last few starts have been absolutely awful. He's allowed 24 runs in his last 5 starts. That's almost 5 runs per, including 7 homers during that span. ERA around 8.68 in June, so hard to know exactly what's going on there. He sounded really frustrated after his last start. Didn't sound like he had a ton of answers, and honestly sounded kind of defeated to me. I don't know what to make of him. Baseball Savant thinks he deserves better if you look at some of the advanced stats on him, but I just don't know how much of that is how well he pitched early in the season. And I just don't know how that applies right now. He's just been absolutely lit up his last few times out. And, I think Milwaukee isn't the greatest team against right-handed pitching. They're about 5% below average since May 20th. But they're still a pretty good ball club. And the way Chris Bassett's been pitching, it's hard to trust him, especially as a favorite. The Mets, though, have also been absolutely crushing right-handed pitching. And Adrian Hauser is a guy who does have negative regression coming his way. His expected ERA on the season is almost a full run higher than his actual ERA on the season. His results have kind of been mixed. He tends to either have a really good start or a really poor one, and it wouldn't surprise me against this lineup on the road if this was one of the poorer starts for him. I'm pretty tempted to play the over at 8 here. I think that total is a little bit low. I'd probably make it 8.5 or 9. For me, though, I respect the talent in these two bullpens. I think Chris Bassett at some point is going to figure it out. He's been a good pitcher most of his career, and he could figure it out today. So there's something telling me to leave this game alone. I think if you're going to play it, over is the way to look. I may end up tweeting out a pick on it later as I continue my work, but for now, it's a stay away with a hard lean toward over 8. Next game, we're jumping into game 2 between the Pirates and the Cardinals. It's going to be Bryce Wilson on the mound for 959 Pittsburgh. Wilson's been terrible this year. He'll be taking on Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals. Cardinals are understandably a pretty massive home favorite here, -210. Pirates +190 on the road. Over under 9. I'm all over the Cardinals on the run line here. I think that they continue to slap around this Pittsburgh team a little bit. Look, the Pirates aren't as bad as the public perception on them is. They've certainly at times this year looked pretty darn competent, but today's just not going to be one of those spots. Bryce Wilson has faced the Cardinals already twice this year, and it's gone unbelievably badly. He's allowed 10 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings, including 7 earned in 1.2 innings of work in his last start. That was back on May 22nd. So, again, this guy hasn't pitched in a couple weeks, probably not going to go terribly deep into the game. I don't see how the Pirates can expect a good outcome with one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball going out there and throwing 3 or 4 innings and then turning it over to that bullpen, which is already the second game of a doubleheader. I think St. Louis gets theirs on offense. Goldschmidt's just been on another level. They're pretty good at producing runs. They're one of the top 5 teams in baseball at hitting with runners in scoring position. So I'd be surprised if St. Louis doesn't, get after Bryce Wilson a little bit here and score some runs. On the flip side, you look at Miles Michaelis. He faced Pittsburgh way back on April 9th. Wasn't fully built up, allowed 2 earned, didn't quite get through 4 innings. I don't really know what to make of that. He was phenomenal all the way through April and May after that. Some concerning signs from his last couple starts, 12 earned run. But he did go 8 innings his last time out. So clearly he's, pushing through. He doesn't really walk guys. I like trusting guys who are sort of steady like that. And especially against a lineup like Pittsburgh that, while it's had more pop recently than expected, it's not really a lineup that you expect to blow a guy out of the water. So if he continues to just pound the zone, I think he'll get a lot of that soft contact. He's got a good walk rate, 3.32 expected ERA. So, this is one where I think St. Louis pulls away. They've got a plenty good bullpen to hold on to it. So, I like St. Louis on the run line -1.5. That's going to be a 1-unit play. I got it at -105. Continuing on, the Padres and Cubs, they continue their series at Wrigley Field tonight. They got major delay last night. There were tornadoes and wild storms going through the Chicago area. A lot of damage actually down in Fort Wayne, Indiana last night. But, tonight I think that they'll probably start on time. It looks like a pretty blustery, windy environment based on the total at 10.5. So, I think it creates variance in a game like this. You look at Sean Manaea. He's on the mound for the Padres. Padres are a -130 favorite. Cubs +122 at home, over under 10.5. Manaea's quietly been pretty darn good. He's gone 6 or more innings in 7 straight starts. Kind of weird. The first 5 of those starts, he allowed exactly 3 runs each. Last 2 starts, he's only allowed 1 run. His ERA is his expected ERA right around 3.5. That's in line with what he's done all season. There are some mixed results on the Baseball Savant page. But I think overall he's a guy that is worthy of at least some trust. Cubs are about an average team against lefties. Only concern here is, are we going to see a bunch of home runs flying out with the wind? Is it going to create kind of a crazy, baseball environment? I don't really know what to make of it. Kyle Hendricks on the flip side, this is a guy who last time we faced the Padres in San Diego, he was 1 out away from a complete game shutout through 8 2/3. He's either been really good or really bad every time out this year. Super high variance. He's not really missing very many bats. His expected ERA is about 5.5. Really bad K numbers. Really hard contact against him. I don't really see much reason to believe in Kyle Hendricks. The Cubs have actually been hitting righties a lot better recently than they were early in the season. If anything, I think San Diego on the money line might be the look. -130 is fairly cheap given the difference in talent between these two teams. And I trust San Diego's pen a hell of a lot more than the Cubs. So, again, right, lean, not quite a play on San Diego -130. I just don't want to get involved. I feel like there's a lot of variance in that game. Moving on, heading out west, the Cincinnati Reds continue their trip to Arizona, taking on the Diamondbacks here. Tyler Mahle for Cincinnati taking on Zach Davies for Arizona. Zach Davies, by the way, who this is a guy who completely ghosted his wife, just disappeared on her, and she filed for divorce having not spoken to him. So I don't know much of the story there, but it seems like a bit of a scumbag. This game's lined pretty close to a pick'em. Arizona's a small favorite at home, -117. Reds -103. Over under 9. Zach Davies just pitched against Cincinnati on Friday. Both these starters actually faced this opponent their last time out. Davies, 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs at Cincinnati. Pretty solid. But he has allowed 3 or more earned runs in 5 of his last 6. He's been getting hit around a little bit recently. Expected ERA 3.5 actually suggested he might have a little bit of positive regression coming his way. And Cincinnati's kind of been Jekyll and Hyde as a lineup. It's hard, man. He doesn't get a lot of swing and miss, and Cincinnati's now seeing him twice within a week. I wouldn't be surprised if he got hit around a little bit. I don't really know what to expect there, frankly. Tyler Mahle, though, has absolutely deserved better than he's gotten this year. He's got an ERA over 5 on the season, but his expected ERA is closer to 3.5. His advanced metrics show a guy who's been pretty much above average at everything except walking guys. So if he can keep the ball in the zone, not walk guys, he should be in pretty good shape. His last start, also against Arizona, 6 strong innings, only allowed a run. I do think he's the better overall starter. I think, Arizona's probably – I think Cincinnati should probably be favored in the first 5 innings here. I don't quite see enough value to bet it, though, for a couple reasons. Number one, the Cincinnati bullpen's been terrible. 6.7 ERA in June. Arizona's hasn't been great, but it's been better. They're around 4.5. You look at what these teams have done against righties. Arizona's actually been a bit better. They're 13th in the league against right-handed pitching since May 20th, while Cincinnati's 24th. So I think the starting pitching advantages that Cincinnati clearly has here are quickly outdone by other factors. So I don't see a ton of value in the line here. Probably not going to watch the game either, but we'll check in with the box score after the fact. Heading into the AL, we're going to jump right into the AL East. We've got the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. It's kind of been a big battle across the top of that division for a couple of years here now. But Tampa Bay sending Corey Kluber to the mound. The Yankees sending Garrett Cole to the mound. The Yankees are a huge favorite, minus 220. Tampa plus 200 on the road, over under 8. I think it's hard to fade the Yankees right now. They're playing really good baseball, best record in the league, blah, blah, blah. But Tampa's kind of gotten the best of them. They had a winning record against them last year. They've beaten up on Garrett Cole in the past. He did pitch well against them last month. He threw 6 innings of 1-run ball. But you look at what he's done against Tampa in his career, 1-6 record, ERA over 4. I think this is one of those teams that kind of has his number, and he's had a tendency to kind of get knocked around a bit this season at times, and especially with the short porches there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tampa punch a bit early here, maybe get a couple over the short porch. Garrett Cole is giving up more hard contact than expected this year, but he's still an elite swing and miss guy. The expected ERA has been really good. The expected batting average is staying low. I think there's a little concern with the fact that his last start, he gave up 7 earned in 2 1/3 to the Twins, gave up 5 homers in that one. So a lot of it for Garrett Cole just comes down to, can he avoid the home run ball? Because teams aren't really stringing together long innings against him. But starts can get away from him in a hurry if Tampa's turning on a couple. Flip side with Corey Kluber, his strength has been avoiding walks, forcing teams to chase. We'll see, right? Because the contact profile isn't that strong, and the Yankees are pretty darn good with the bats. But like Garrett Cole, he had a good outing in that series against the Yankees. 6 innings, 1 earned, so exact same line as Cole had. He's been pitching pretty decently as of late. Just nothing special though. I think there's a clear advantage on the bump here for Cole over Kluber based on where they are in their careers now. The Yankees bullpen has been pretty good. So I think it's really tempting to go with the Rays here. They're getting 2-1 against a team that I don't think they're much worse than, and a team that they've played well against for a couple years now. I think the better angle might be the first 5 innings. I'm very tempted by Tampa first 5, either plus 180 on the money line or plus 125 on the run line. Getting that kind of plus money on a team to just be tied through 5 innings, against a pitcher that they've hit well in the past. They've handed 6 losses to the guy to only 1 win. Pretty tempting. I just, I don't know that I'm really in the mood to fade Cole and the Yankees right now. Again, it's another bet that I'll consider, but I've got 8 plays today, and I like a lot of them better than I like this one. So probably just gonna stay off of it, and I'll probably be kicking myself when the Rays put a 4 spot on Garrett Cole in the first inning. Moving on, second half of the card, we've got the Baltimore Orioles at the Toronto Blue Jays. More AL East action here. Much more lopsided AL East action here. The O's and the Jays played a laugher last night. I think it was 11-1 Toronto. Alek Manoah continuing his Cy Young campaign. Today, Toronto gets a look at Jordan Lyles. It'll be Yusei Kikuchi on the mound for the Blue Jays. Orioles, big underdogs, plus 180. Blue Jays minus 200 at home. Over-under is sitting at 9 here. It was at 9.5 last night. I am on the over at 9. Not going to be on it at 9.5, but where it sits right now, I am going to be on that. Jordan Lyles, this is a guy who isn't good, first of all. Toronto put 6 runs on him last year in a 4-inning outing. He's allowed 3 or more runs in 7 consecutive starts. He's allowed 11 runs in June in just 10 innings of work. He's got one of the ugliest baseball savant pages of any consistently starting pitcher you'll see in the league. Bottom 25% in virtually everything out there. Expected ERA, almost 6. He's just not very good. And this is a Toronto lineup that hits everyone really well, but especially hits righties pretty well. He's going to be followed in by a bullpen that's looked okay, but I think Toronto's going to get after it early here. I think that they'll score some runs like they've been doing. And on the flip side, Yusei Kikuchi really hasn't been a whole lot better. He's been giving up insane amounts of hard contact. He's got an expected ERA of 5.52 himself. He's walking a ridiculous number of hitters. He's bottom 10% of the league in walk rate. Look at his 2 June starts, 7 earned and only 5 1/3 innings, 3 homers already in the month, 4 walks. His May was pretty good, but that looks like a distant memory now. He's been terrible. This Baltimore team that has some bats. They can score a little bit. Overall, I don't see a ton of run prevention from either one of these starters. I think this game could easily be 5-4 early. Baltimore's allowed 40 runs in their last 6 games, and 4 of those games were against Kansas City. So, if you're giving up runs hand over fist to Kansas City, I would think Toronto will probably get after you. So I'm going to be playing over 9 here. I would not play it to 9.5, but I do like over 9 up to like minus 120 between Baltimore and Toronto. Moving down the board, heading into the AL Central now, we've got the Chicago White Sox 9-6-9 at Detroit Tigers 9-7-0. It's going to be Dylan Cease for the White Sox, Drew Hutchison on the mound for the Tigers, looking more like a bullpen game for Detroit. White Sox minus 182 on the money line. I'm showing Tigers plus 167. Over under 7.5. Tough to get a total anywhere 8 or above when you've got the Tigers involved. That offense is absolutely terrible. I have some concerns about Dylan Cease. I'm still going to be backing him here. I'm playing the White Sox on the first 5 run line, minus half a run. That comes in at minus 125. Dylan Cease, 3.14 ERA looks great, but this is a guy who's allowed 9 unearned runs in his last 3 starts. I get it. Unearned runs are the result of errors. They get taken off a pitcher's record for a reason. Fair, right? But 9 of them in 3 starts, that's more than a blip on the radar to me. That tells me that there's been a lot of traffic, and if you take a look at it, 14 walks in 16 innings over his last 3 starts. 23 total base runners in 16 innings. That's not terrible, but you can't be walking that many guys. He did pitch in Detroit in April, threw well, 5 innings, 1 earned. His ERA on the road is 2.1. It's quite a bit better than it is at home. Ultimately, the reason I'm willing to back Dylan Cease here, he faced the Tigers 4 times last year. Obviously, a divisional opponent like this, he's super familiar with them. 4 starts last year, 23 innings, 3 earned runs. And last year's Detroit team was hitting a lot better than this year's. So I don't see how he doesn't have success today. He's still a really talented pitcher. Detroit can't hit anything. They're right there with Oakland in terms of how bad they've been offensively this season. And the flip side, Detroit going with a bullpen game. It's a bullpen that's been good in June. Their ERA is around 3.2-ish, 3.1. It's just hard to imagine them, putting together 9 strong innings. Drew Hutchison has been pretty average, and it's going to be just a parade of arms behind him. All we need is 1 or 2 of those guys to not be sharp. And I think we'll get there with this bet. I don't think Detroit scores much. So to me, if I only think Detroit's going to put up maybe a run over the first 5, I only need 2 from Chicago against the Tigers bullpen. I like my chances. So We're going to go White Sox first 5 innings, minus half a run at minus 125. Moving down the board, the Oakland A's continue their East Coast road trip as they head to Boston to take on the Red Sox. Red Sox red hot right now, 8-2 on the road on a West Coast road trip they just went on. Got a day off yesterday. Now they come home refreshed to play Oakland. They're a big favorite, minus 220. Oakland plus 200 on the road here. It's going to be Koenig on the mound for Oakland, taking on Nick Pivetta for the Red Sox. This kid Koenig, this is only going to be his second career start. His first one did not go very well. Atlanta handled him relatively easily. 4 innings, 4 earned. So, not a ton of hope. I don't think he'll go very deep here. You look at what the Red Sox have done against lefties. They are a 156 WRC plus since May 20th. That is somehow only 3rd best in baseball, but that's ridiculous nonetheless. That's 56% over average. Oakland's bullpen has an ERA over 9 in June. Boston's bullpen has an ERA of 2.19. Nick Pivetta, he's been fine. He's kind of a middle-of-the-road right-handed pitcher, but I think this is a really soft landing against Oakland. It's a team that doesn't really hit anybody well. I think he'll probably give us 5 or 6 innings, give up 2 runs. I think that's totally fine, partially because I don't see how Boston scores fewer than 7 or 8. I'm all over Boston on the run line here, minus 1.5. It's one of my biggest plays today. I'm going 2 units on that. I got it at minus 115. I'd play it up to minus 125. Between a bullpen with an ERA over 9 and a rookie starter who hasn't looked impressive and happens to throw with the wrong hand to throw with against Boston, I don't see how the Red Sox don't get after it early and often here and win this game going away. Next game, we are heading to Texas. We've got the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers, 9-7-3, 9-7-4 on the betting board. Jose Urquidy getting another start for Houston for whatever reason. That 5.04 ERA is not as bad as it should be. He'll be taking on Dane Dunning for the Texas Rangers. Astros, small favorite here. I'm showing minus 125. Rangers plus 105. Total set at 9. Let's talk about Jose Urquidy for a minute. He's been one of the worst starters in baseball this year. He's bottom 5% of qualified pitchers in expected ERA, expected slugging percentage, expected WOBA, bottom 10% out of qualified pitchers in exit velocity against, barrel percentage, expected batting average. Guys are putting bat to ball on him, and it's going a long way. He's been pretty darn lucky this year. That 5.04 ERA is not nearly as high as it should be. His expected ERA is closer to 6.5. He did pitch well last outing. Last time he faced Texas, I just don't buy it. I think there's a ton of negative regression coming for him. To me, this game, my bet's the Texas Rangers team total over 3.5. I don't know why you would ever deal a 3.5 against Jose Urquidy. I think more often than not, he's going to give that up himself before the bullpen comes in the game. But I don't see how the Rangers don't at least push across 3 here in the first 5 innings or so. And then I just need 1 as the night goes along. I think Rangers over 3.5 is easily the best bet on the board here. I'll talk about Dane Dunning for a second, pitching for them. He struggled against Houston last year, 5 earned in 6 innings. Pitched against them well in April. Pitched, 5 2/3, gave up only 2 earned runs. Overall, this is your run-of-the-mill, below-average right-handed starter. Houston is certainly capable offensively. I don't mind an over here at 9. I think that makes some sense too. I'm a little spooked because Houston's got a pretty good bullpen, and they've had a tendency to play a lot of under games this year. So I'm just going to stick with the Rangers. I think they'll get to 4 runs here. Part of me thinks they should be favored. They picked up a nice win last night. They've given the Astros some trouble, but I'm just going to keep it simple. Rangers team total over 3.5. I've got that at minus 135. Next game, we have got 4 left here. 1 more American League, 3 in the Interleague. Going to go out west where the Twins are traveling to Seattle. They played a late game last night. Seattle ended up falling short. I think it was 3-2 Twins, the final there. I know BC and I both had Twins team total over 3.5. Felt like that should have come home. They had a whole bunch of opportunities that they didn't capitalize on. Yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup tonight. You've got Joe Ryan on the mound for Minnesota against Logan Gilbert for Seattle. Minnesota small underdog plus 107, Seattle minus 117 at home. Over under was 7 last night. It's bumped up to 7.5 today. It's a shame. I think I probably would have bet the over at 7, but not doing it at 7.5. Joe Ryan for Minnesota. This is their young stud. He's the guy who I bet 17 to 1 to win Rookie of the Year. Still don't feel terribly about it. He's looked really good. Hasn't made a start since May 21st, so wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of keep a tight leash on him here, not let him go terribly far into the game. He has faced Seattle, faced them in the opening series, did okay, 4 innings, 2 runs, but he was still kind of building up then too. What kind of leans me toward the over here, both these teams have been top 5 in baseball since May 20th against right-handed pitching. Minnesota especially has just been eating them alive. They've got a WRC plus of 134 over that span. Bullpens are both middling. I think they rank 15th and 18th respectively in the month of June. Look at the other side, Logan Gilbert, another exciting young arm, a guy who early in the season I thought had a chance to win the Cy Young, but he's kind of fallen off. You look dating back to May 6th, so a little over a month, 3+ earned in 4 of his 6 starts since then. He's looked a lot more human. I think this is one of those games where the starting pitching matchup gets a ton of talk because it's 2 really good young starters. I think we might end up with more pitches being thrown out of the bullpen than by starters here, which is part of why I really would have liked the over at 7. At 7.5, not quite there, but I think we're going to get a lot of bullpen here. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these offenses pop off just with how hot they've been against right-handers recently. I would make the game right around a pick 'em, might favor Seattle slightly just because Joe Ryan's coming off injury. So I'm in line with the market. If a 7 pops back up, I might jump on it over, but no play for me as of now. 977 Cleveland Guardians. We're heading into interleague play. They are at Coors Field taking on the Colorado Rockies, reigniting the classic Guardians-Rockies rivalry. Guardians going to be sending Shane Bieber to the mound, having a great year, 2.91 ERA. He'll be taking on Antonio Sensatella. Guardians, a minus 161 favorite here. Rockies plus 141 at home. Over under 10.5. That's a pretty tame Coors Field total. Sensatella is kind of a weird guy. This is a dude who, for his career, has been better at Coors Field, and for this season has been way better at Coors Field than he is on the road. Just seems like a place that he's comfortable pitching. Guardians certainly don't have an overwhelming lineup, so I could see him settling in and pitching pretty well. You never really know. Shane Bieber's having a great season. He had 1 bad outing against Toronto back on May 7th, but other than that, he's been really good. He's only allowed 4 home runs all season. On the road, he's been great. 2.23 ERA away from Progressive Field. Coors Field's a bit of a different assignment, though, and Shane Bieber has never been there. And for a guy who throws a lot of breaking balls, doesn't exactly throw super hard, you never know if a guy like that. You never know if his pitches are going to kind of flatten out at the elevation. Typically really high variance environment there. So. I don't know what to do, right? I mean, minus 160, minus 175 in some places feels aggressive for Cleveland as a road favorite. But then I look at the bullpens. They've got a way better bullpen. They've been playing a little bit better baseball. They've been pretty hot. So I guess I get it. I'm not wanting to lay it at all with them on the road. I don't really want any part of the Rockies either. I think even if they lead, they could blow this game late. So no play for me here. It's kind of a weird game, not one that I feel like I have a great feel for. My only other 2-unit play of the day is on this game. Kansas City Royals at 980 San Francisco Giants. Giants, gigantic home favorites once again, minus 245. Royals plus 225 on the road. Over under a total of 8. Giants going to be a minus 1.5, minus 115 as well, and that's what we're going to be on for 2 units. Giants on the run line. Logan Webb taking the bump for San Francisco. He won about 1 million straight home games until his last one when the Rockies finally came out and got him. It was his first home loss in about 1.5 years. I think that streak starts back up again tonight. This is Kansas City lineup that's not terribly intimidating. We know Webb likes pitching at Oracle Park, so I'd be surprised if the Royals blew him up. I think San Francisco probably controls most of the game. They've had a really good bullpen recently. The numbers don't necessarily bear it out if you look over the past month or past 3 weeks, but past week or two, especially last weekend against the Dodgers, they were dominant. It's really a unit that's done well. So I think their run prevention will be really strong here, but mostly this is just I am once again asking you to fade Chris Bubich for the Royals. This is, in my opinion, the definitive worst starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. He is dead last in expected WOBA, expected ERA, expected batting average, and expected slugging percentage against. He also doesn't get any chase. He's close to dead. He's close to dead last in almost everything else. I mean, he's got a 9.13 ERA. Normally when I see that, I'm like, okay, that can't be real. We've got to expect some regression here. He's gotten unlucky. Not really. His expected ERA is around 8.5. So he's been legitimately terrible. And the Giants are pretty good against lefties. 118 WRC plus since May 20th against lefties. It's not a very good Royals bullpen. So, I don't mind the total at 8. I think it makes some sense, but I think the way we're going to get there is like 7-1, maybe 6-2 San Francisco, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them score more than that. They've got advantages all over the board here. So Giants minus 1.5 on the run line. Pretty hot team. That's going to be a 2-unit play of mine. That's one of my 2 best bets on the day, along with Boston on the run line. Final game of the night. Great opportunity to remind everybody that there's only one baseball team in Los Angeles. That's the Dodgers. The Angels play in a different county entirely. They play in Anaheim, California. They got to get on a shitty, trafficy bus ride to get up to Dodger Stadium for the game tonight. I hope that the traffic is absolutely awful for them. It's going to be Noah Syndergaard on the mound for the Angels, and this is not the same guy that he was with the Mets. Angels big underdogs here, plus 180. Dodgers minus 200 at home. It's game 9-8, 192. Dodgers going to have Tony Gonsolin on the mound, 7-0 with a 1.58 ERA. Probably the Cy Young favorite, maybe in the National League so far this year. Taking a close look here, Noah Syndergaard, when he was with the Mets, this is a guy who was upper 90s, pinpoint control. When he was healthy, he was dominant. He was really tough, and he was especially tough on the Dodgers back in the day. This is not that guy. Doesn't have a very good strikeout rate anymore. Really relies on guys making soft contact against him, and that has not always happened. In June, his ERA was about 5.5. He got hit around as the Angels floundered. Mostly, though, he's been really bad away from Anaheim. And believe it or not, Los Angeles is away from Anaheim. He's got an ERA of 7.88 on the road this season. I think also there's a lot of negative talk around the Dodgers coming off that road trip they just had to Chicago and San Francisco. They didn't play particularly well, but it's not like they're not getting traffic on the bases. They just really didn't hit with runners in scoring position that series. They left an insane number of runners on base. I think it just came down to little execution things, and Roberts kind of torched them in the media this weekend. So, I think they've had a day off to clear their heads. Now they get a standard, home game. It's always a big crowd against the Angels because you do get a few brave folks who come up from Orange County to Dodger Stadium. But, I think the Dodgers might just mash Syndergaard here. He's kind of Joe Righty now, only throws 93, 95. Like I said, he's been terrible on the road. So I think the Dodgers will get after him early in the game, score some runs. And then you look at Tony Gonsolin, the Catman for the Dodgers. This guy's been unbelievable. No more than 2 earned runs in any start all season. That's over 11 starts. He's now completed 6 innings in 5 straight. So the only knock on him early in the season was he's not a guy who pitches deep. He'd only go 4 or 5 innings. Now he's throwing at least 6 every single time out. This is an Anaheim team that ranks 21st in Major League Baseball against righties, so it's not exactly as tough of a matchup as it might look at first glance. And obviously the Angels are really cold, right? I mean, they broke the losing streak, but they're still 2-16 in their last 18 games. It's a good opportunity for the Dodgers to bounce back here after having a day to clear their heads. The Dodgers bullpen has been shaky, so I prefer to just avoid that. But Tony Gonsolin absolutely has not been shaky. So give me the Dodgers first 5 innings on the run line, minus half a run. That comes in at minus 125. I would be very surprised if the boys in blue were not ahead at the end of 5 innings. So to recap, those are all the games for today. I've got all my bets here on the bottom of the screen. If you see 2 stars on one, that's one of my two unit plays that I've got going today. Those are going to be the Red Sox minus 1.5 and the Giants minus 1.5. Got 6 other plays outside of that. Phillies team total over 4.5. St. Louis on the run line, lay on the run and a half. We've got Baltimore and Toronto over 9. White Sox first 5 run line, Dodgers first 5 run line, and the Texas Rangers team total over 3.5. So 8 plays there, pretty full card. I may be adding to it. There are a couple other things that I'm sort of leaning toward, and kind of just have to kind of just talk to myself and see where I land. So be sure to take a look on my Twitter. See me at Dalton J. Brown on Twitter. Also my partner with this show generally, BC at BC_Houston1. He's got great MLB info there as well. So feel free to hop over there, send me a message, shoot me a comment. Let me know if you think I'm an idiot, and we'll go from there. But for now, I think better time than ever to remind everybody that the Angels don't play in Anaheim. Or excuse me, they don't play in LA. They play in Anaheim. And they've got a long, long road trip tonight to get up to Chavez Ravine. So I hope it's miserable for them. But anyway, appreciate y'all checking in. Looking forward to another show on Thursday. And let's win some bets in the meantime. Thanks.